Welcome to Town of Barnstable's formal site plan review. Today's date is June 6, 2024. My name is Brian Florence, and I will be chair for this meeting. This meeting of site plan review is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. In accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, I need to inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, to make their presence known at this time. All right, seeing none, this meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Town of Barnstable zoning ordinance section 240-24.1.2.b4, which requires that development and modification that meets or exceeds the thresholds established in subsection B4A below in the downtown Hyannis zoning district shall be reviewed by the building commissioner or his designee at a public meeting at which the public comment shall be allowed. The purpose of site plan review is to ensure that the site plan for a proposed development is in compliance with local, state, and federal regulations before a project is submitted for permitting. To that end, this meeting brings all of the town's regulatory agencies together in one place, so you don't have to go from department to department to try to understand what's required for a permit. While we may, as a courtesy, provide insight to what regulations will apply to your project during the permitting process, this process should not be construed to be an approval of activities regulated elsewhere, such as building codes, licensing, health regulations, that sort of thing. The way this process works is we'll read your case into the record. You, as the applicant, will then have an opportunity to give a brief presentation. From there, I'll ask for staff comment and/or questions. Once staff has completed their portion of the meeting, I will open the floor for public comment. If you want to be heard, please raise your hand or indicate through Zoom that you wish to be heard. It would be helpful if you could mute your microphone until you're called upon to speak, and we ask that you state your name before speaking. If you need to share your plans, we've made arrangements for you to do so. If you don't know how to do that, just let us know, and one of us will be happy to assist you. If you are going to share plans, I just ask that you let me know ahead of time so that we don't disrupt the flow of the meeting. Maggie takes notes of these proceedings and will provide our applicants with a letter outlining any outstanding matters or conditions that need to be addressed. So don't feel like you need to take copious notes. And with that said, we can proceed, knowing that our housekeeping is all done, out of the way. All right, Maggie, if you would read our case into the record.
Okay, good morning. We have one item today with public comment. Site plan review 23-82 for 268 Stevens Housing LLC, represented by David Quinn. The address is 268 Stevens Street in Hyannis, map parcel 308017. The zoning is the downtown village, excuse me, as well as the AP overlay. The applicant is proposing a mixed income residential development / condominium project. The project has been scaled down in numbers since the initial site plan review meeting on 9/12/2023, and subsequent meetings were held on both 4/9 and 5/21/2024.
Great, thank you. And who would like to begin?
Hey, good morning, everybody. David Quinn with Housing Assistance Corporation. And first, I'll start by introducing our team. We have Thad Samasco from SV Design, who's the architect. Brandon Carr from Dupree Engineering, who is the civil engineer. We have Lily Gray, who is a development consultant helping on the project, as well as Peter Freeman, who is a zoning attorney. And so I'll just give a brief overview of the project, then I'll turn it over to our design team to really dig into the details. But we're proposing a 50-unit condo project at 268 Stevens Street. This is on the corner of North Street and Stevens Street. It's on a currently vacant lot. And I think this is a unique project for a couple of reasons. First is that it's a home ownership project. So it's not a rental project. These will be condo units that will be purchased. And our target market for these units is really a workforce middle income level. So the target will be for households with incomes roughly between $80,000 and $125,000. So really a median income project. With a price range of the mid 200,000s to the low 300,000s. So really, this is a project that's targeting a market that is really difficult to find on the open market right now, especially for a brand new condo. So I think it's going to provide an opportunity for first-time home buyers who really can't afford those open market prices but maybe make too much to qualify for a deed restricted traditional affordable home. And so I think most people are aware there's really not much of a market for starter homes or anything in this price range. So we're really trying to meet that demand for the local economy and workforce. The primary funding source for this project is through the Mass Commonwealth Builder Program. That's a program run by Mass Housing, which is a state agency. We also have public funding for this project through Barnstable County, as well as the support of the town of Barnstable through our Housing Works grant, which we received last year. It is going to cover the cost of expanding the sewer line to the project and also install a pump station. So we're really excited about this project. I think it'll be a great benefit to Hyannis and this part of Hyannis and bring new homeowners to the area. I'm happy to go through any of the program details if there's questions about that, but I think I'll just turn it over to our design team to go through the designs. So I'm gonna share my screen and drive this. See if I can. Yeah, if I could have screen share permission, that would be
You're all set. Go ahead.
great. All right. Do you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So I'm going to now turn it over to Thad from SV Design.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thad Samasco, SV Design Architects. Brandon will go through the details of the site plan, but like just talk through the overview of the project on the next page, please, David. So as David mentioned, this is in the downtown village district, and we looked through your form zoning and kind of created a checklist of items to make sure we complied. And we believe we do. We cited the building on the corner to fill the corner of with enough room off of the property lines to do proper landscaping, but basically we made sure we kind of created the street wall, and then that allowed us to, of course, hide the parking from behind the building. The two entrances are as far from the intersection as possible, and then in the sort of inside of the L's is an entrance for folks who'll park in the parking lot, where you'll see there's a community room and some other amenities. And on the corner of facing the public, if you will, is a inviting entranceway, and with some good landscaping that Brandon can walk you through. It's a 50-unit project, as David mentioned. There's 27 2-bedrooms, 10% 3 bedrooms. 3 of the units are accessible. They'll all be visitable by those who have some mobility issues. Building has a couple elevators in it. And so we've really kind of created a building that's, we think it's 3 stories. It's of the scale we think fills pretty much a big open area, and yet also is of a scale we think is appropriate for Hyannis. Maybe the next slide.
Sorry about that.
Well, no worries, David. Navigating can be difficult.
It's freezing up on me a little bit. Here we are.
So this is our ground floor plan, so that you can enter the building on either end where there are some stairways, but also in that middle section of the L, which I mentioned, it's a major entrance on the street side. So it's a nice pedestrian amenity. And then off the back side, you'll see there's a community room. There's a good sized bike room, as well as an additional bike storage building that we've provided. Mail and package delivery and all those kinds of amenities are included in the building. The blue color here are the 1-bedroom units, and the orangey color are the 2s. We try to get those on the corners, get a little more light into those units. And then the 3-bedroom, you can see is sort of that purple color. And then the floors run pretty typically. Up next, please, David. They kind of stack one above the other. You'll see the building has some it's not a literal box. There are some jogs and bends and bay windows added to add some interest, visual interest to the building. At the same time, it's a pretty efficient plan to keep our costs kind of rational as well. So floors 2 and 3 are identical. You can see on the chart here, there's 50 units, 18 1s, 27 2s, as I mentioned, and 5 3s. Building's about 18,000 square feet per floor. Total of 54,000 feet is included, of which 46,000 and some change is the net rentable area. Next, please, David. So that floor 3, as I mentioned, is pretty much identical to the floor floor 2. Next, please. Then up at the roof level, we're going to bring the elevator and the stairways up to the roof and provide a roof deck and some connecting walkways to have residents be able to get up there. We'll aggregate the rooftop units toward the middle of the building, so it'll be visually pretty well screened. And then those shaded areas are potential for solar arrays. We'll structure the roof to be able to support a solar package. Next, please. And we have some prettier views of these, but these sort of these elevations show the building. It's about 40 feet tall to the ridge line from the first floor, and depending on where the grade is, it's, you add a couple feet to that height. We are using those gable forms to break down the scale, but also to screen a lot of that mechanical equipment from view as you see this building from some distance. And we think that the scale of those gables really helps fit, we think, a good, if you will, Hyannis / Cape Cod kind of feel to the building. The ground floor on the street side is a field stone kind of look to it, where it'll be pretty durable. And then it transitions up to a shingle. And then on the back side, you'll see, and at the highlight areas, there's some kind of a shiplap type siding. Roof is asphalt shingles. And you can see with using these roof forms, we're trying to break the scale of the building down. It's trying to do two things at once, fill in that whole area that's basically empty to make it feel more village-like, if you will, and then also bringing down the scale so the pedestrian feels comfortable walking in and around and viewing it. Next, please. So you'll see there's 4 elevations on the 4 sides of the building, but these are probably better seen on the renderings, which will be coming up. We do list our materials here as well. And next is this, there's a small bike storage room to supplement the one that we have, bikes that we have in the building, and then a small area of maintenance shed for the kinds of things that you don't really want to store in the building. Maybe a gas-powered lawnmower, that kind of thing. But it's a simple building. It does help fill in the street line, and you can see it has a nice sort of shed-like appearance. Next, David, please. In the package is a showing of the materials. Basically, we're looking for tones of gray, natural bleached kind of feel to it with basically white trim. And then some highlight color of that sort of deeper blue. You might see where you see that fiberglass door will have like a highlight of a strong blue. But all we think fitting the town of Barnstable and Hyannis in particular. Next, please. So when you view it from the corner, you can see how the building sort of recedes to invite you in. There's a neat little pergola out front and a sitting area up there. And it's because of the way the grade works that you actually feel pretty protected when you're up there from vehicles, but at the same time, it's also invites you in. There is some slope to the site. So the far end by the bike shed, we're at grade. And then as we head toward the corner, we lose a couple 3 feet of grade. So we've actually kind of worked that to our advantage, we think, by setting up this patio up at a little bit higher level. And we've kind of concealed a ramp on the right of this image for accessibility, but we're trying to really make it inviting and functional for those who have some mobility issues. And you can see the effect of the bay windows here on breaking up the length of the building. A lot of this stuff does come from your guidelines, which, by the way, I thought were pretty good and easy to work with. Next, please. And if you're on Mitchell's Way looking back along the property, you can see the kind of, the extended landscape proposed is pretty robust. And then there is a little bit of town land that heads off to the right here, which helps set the building into a nice plane. And again, you can see the stone base working with the shingle up top, and the effect of those gables, I think, is helpful. Next, please. Then on the inside of the parking lot side, you can see we kept the darker base, but it's shiplap. on the base, and then it courses up, and there's some variety between a shingle and a kind of a clapboard look, and a slight color difference again to have this feel like it might be more of a set of buildings in some ways than a single building. Next, please. And this is the entrance toward where the bike shed is coming off the end of the south end of the building. It's off of Stephen Street. As I mentioned, the two driveway entrances are as far from the intersection as we could keep them. On the left here, you can kind of see how the grade is starting to drop and how that wall starts to come up and form an access point to the main entrance of the building. And next, David. And that's a bit of a view of it. We're able to limit the amount of railings so that the ramp to the right is actually at 5%. So we don't have to have a heavy railing here. And a little bit of signage and a nice little front lawn area before you actually approach, if you will, the private entrance to the building. And I think that may be it. Yeah, and then Brandon will talk through the civil highlights, and of course, happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, Brennan Carr with Dupree Engineering. I'll talk through the civil. We have a couple plans here, but if there's any detailed questions, we can bring up some more detailed information. But kind of Thad and David already went over the overall site program. Just looking at it kind of from a high level, just wanted to point out when Thad mentioned the grade change, this site is, there's a good amount of grade change. When you're out there, you don't really feel it, but there's about 8-9 feet of grade change from the northwest corner towards the intersection there. So that was it created a little bit of a challenge with the building sited on the street side and making, you know, both entrances work. So as you saw in Thad's elevations, the kind of rear entrance to the parking lot, that's at the first floor level. And what that does is it brings the first floor of the building up above the intersection of North Street and Stephen Street, 3 to 4 feet. In a way, it's a nice feature. It creates kind of a breaks up that front entrance. It allows us to have that little wall with the stairs that you saw on one of the last renderings. And it also creates a little bit more separation from those first floor units to the road, especially on that corner. From a site circulation standpoint, we have 2 curb cuts. We have one on the north on Stephen Street and one on Mitchell's Way. They're both full access, so both directions in and out. You can see that driveway kind of creates a loop through the site that we worked and had reviewed by fire to provide access through the site. And then the parking lot is mostly screened, almost entirely screened from Stephen Street, North Street. You'll see it a little bit from Mitchell's just because of the more openness at that curb cut. But as we get to the landscaping, you'll see how we added a little bit more screening there to affect that. So we have 76 parking spaces, which meets the requirement. We are trying to maximize kind of our usage of parking. So it did create a good amount of impervious on the site. The site plan and that grading challenge really limited our drainage options. So we worked with engineering and DPW to come up with kind of a different approach to stormwater here. For a lot of the parking, we're using a porous concrete type product. It's called Stormcrete. And what that does is it allows infiltration through those hatched areas you see in the parking fields, mostly located in parking bays. And that allows the stormwater infiltrate into the ground, and then underneath you have a stone reservoir. So that provides filter, water quality, and detention practices before the water infiltrates into the ground here. And then to kind of augment that, we have a small basin on the southwest corner of the property. So majority of the stormwater, especially the smaller storms, will infiltrate in through that Stormcrete product I mentioned, and then part of the site will infiltrate in that infiltration basin, and then we have a couple infiltrating catch basins at the site entrances just to catch any last runoff before it goes into the public right away. So the site's been designed to meet the town and the state stormwater regulations. All stormwater that falls on the site, including the roof, which goes to an underground infiltration system under the parking area. So all the stormwater that falls on site today is infiltrated on the site today. Under this proposal. For utilities, water is coming off of Stephen Street. we don't have the utility plan as part of the presentation, but it comes into the northeast corner of the building. It's a straight shot right in. We've coordinated that with the water department. Gas and electric come on off of Mitchell's Way. And then sewer, as David mentioned, we've been working with the town and their engineer on locating a sewer pump station that's located just east of the Mitchell Way entrance. So between that driveway in the corner of the building, we're proposing an underground sewer pump station. As I said, we've been working with the designer to coordinate that, but that would serve this building, and I believe it's sized to serve some of the neighboring properties to the north. And we're just coordinating, power, discharge from our building, generator, electric, all that, hookup for that, and we'll be providing the town an easement to access and maintain that as necessary. If you go to the next page, David. So this is the landscaping plan. We kept it, so basically we have a lot of screening around the exterior of the site. You can see in the north property line, the west property line, especially where we do have some residential abutters. We broke that up. We do have a retaining wall up in that top left corner. So our site sits lower than the abutters, which will do a nice job to shield headlights. It's about a 4 to 6 foot wall. Then we have some plantings on top of that to create a buffer. We also have trees within the parking islands that meet the town's shade requirement, and then some screening kind of on the Mitchell Way frontage, as I mentioned, to screen that basin and screen the parking as much as possible for Mitchell's Way. In addition to that, we have kind of lower minor scale plantings along the building at the foot of the building along that front entrance on both street frontages, and then around the parking lot, more ornamental, a lot of native species. We've reviewed the town's guidelines and Concom's direction on that to meet the town's landscaping requirements here. I should mention that the site does fall within the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission, and we just filed, I believe, yesterday for that, if not today. So we'll be going before them. There is a off-site stream to the west of us, and the 200-foot riverbank does come onto our the western side of our site. So we'll be going through the conservation approval process over the next coming weeks, month. From a site and utility and stormwater perspective, that's really what the overall. We did submit, actually, I should mention, we submitted a lighting plan as well, meets the town's requirements of no spillover at any of the property lines. Kind of a smaller scale residential type feature. I believe they're 14 to 20 feet high, shielded down, so it's not going to create a nuisance to the neighbors. That was part of the package that was submitted. Other than that, I think that's kind of the overview of the site. Like the last piece, we are replacing all the sidewalks along the site's frontage in coordination with DPW, and providing ADA access along the site and into the site. That's fairly it from a site standpoint, but if anybody has any questions, we're here to answer them.
Great, thank you. Can we drop the screen share for the moment? Perfect, thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and bring it back to staff. Maggie, have you received any correspondence on this matter?
I have not received any correspondence, Brian.
Great, thank you. Then we'll go with planning and development first.
Thank you, Brian. Kate Maldonado, Planning and Development. We do not have many comments, but I'll read them through. Proof of mailing was submitted. Thank you for notice with regard to this meeting. That was submitted for the record. A landscape plan signed by a registered landscape architect has been submitted as well. We will need financial security to be provided prior to certificate of occupancy. Mentioned in the letter before, but you are in the planting zone, so you are eligible for free trees. Contact information will be included in the letter. And then looking over the zoning table, we have a few very, very minor edits. Just the zoning table defines a minimum lot area, but that's not actually applicable in the DV. Very minor edits like that, that you've also already shown in your matrix. Just some cleanup, which I'll explain in the letter. And those are our comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Health.
Thank you, Brian. David Stan with Public Health. We have no comments.
Great, thank you. Engineering, DPW, please.
Matt Roble, DPW Engineering. We have no new comments on this one, but I'll read through our couple of standing comments. We'll need continued coordination with the development team and DPW Engineering on the sewer pump station layout and design. Any proposed tree plantings within the town right of way will need to be coordinated with the town of Barnstable tree warden. Addressing of the building and individual units are going to need to be coordinated with both DPW Engineering and Hyannis Fire. And this project will also require a road opening permit, and trench permit, and sewer connection permit, and a stormwater management permit prior to start of construction. And that's all we have at this moment.
Great, thank you. Hyannis Fire, please.
Good morning, Brian. Tim Landman, Hyannis Fire Prevention. We have no new comments for this project either at this time. Just review some of what we said in the past. For the record, we're happy with the access that's been provided through the engineering for the project and the proposed upgrades to the water system to provide for the fire service is going to be needed as well for this project. Most of what we need to continue working with will be through the permitting process as far as the assorted fire department permits are going to be necessary as the project moves forward. Other than that, Hyannis Fire is good with this one. Thank you, Brian.
Great, thank you. Will be for the building code purposes, just so you know, common attractions, as Dean Melanson used to say, the construction control project. We'll be looking for a fire stopping plan for the engineers and architects in this project. There'll likely be a third-party review requirement where we'll have a third party review the application. So there'll be a fee associated with that. Any signage will need permits through the building division. And obviously we'll be looking at 521 CMR for handicap accessibility as well. So with that said, I think did I miss any staff members here? Okay, we'll open this up for public comment. Is there anybody in the public that would like to comment on this project? Please let yourself be known.
Brian, we have Stephen Colella.
Okay, Mr. Colella, thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. It's terrific information. I am an abutter. I live across the street. My home office looks directly across to that lot right now that is being used for the substation construction. The intersection at Stevens and North Street is an extremely busy intersection. And it's a fairly precarious intersection. You have folks coming up from the West End Rotary at a high rate of speed, and it's a blind curve coming around there. You have folks coming down North Street from High School Road, also typically at a very high rate of speed. As I sit here and work from home, I witness a lot of mayhem on that particular corner. I'm wondering if the plan includes any creative thoughts in terms of how to make that a safer intersection.
Generally, we don't do question and answer. We just do public comment, but I'll just
I'm
ask.
sorry.
That's okay. No, we're glad you're here. Maybe I can defer to Mr. Roble from DPW to see if there's any discussions were had at the engineering level.
Hi there, Matt Roble from DPW Engineering. We had asked them to provide some traffic study information, I believe at the beginning of this process, just to kind of identify what the potential impacts would be of this development. And at this point in time, we're not planning on doing any intersection improvements that I'm aware of, but I'd be happy to check in with my office to see.
Is there anything that perhaps that is included in the Main Street, the two-way Main Street conversion? Does it extend to that block by any chance?
I don't believe so. I'm not involved in that project particularly, but I'd be happy to check in on that and provide you with an answer offline.
Okay. I had one other question, if that's appropriate. I'm not sure if it's a comment question, but once if the plan is approved and once a construction date is established, is there any estimate as to the time of construction in terms of the length that the project might take to be created?
We'll ask Mr. Quinn to respond to that.
Hi, David.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, so the once construction starts, we are estimating a 16-month construction period. And so yeah, we're currently working with a GC to fine tune all of the final timeline information. So that's what we're looking at right now.
Great,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much for the opportunity to speak.
Absolutely. Matt, do you have a copy of the traffic study? Is that available for?
I'll have to dig back through my notes. We've had a number of meetings on this one, but I'll see what I have for record files. I'm not 100% certain that we received them, but I'll take a look through and I'm happy to send along anything I can dig up.
Great, thank you. Mr. Coelho, if you'd like, you can email Margaret Flynn, our site plan review coordinator. And if Matt has that information, he can get it to her so that he can get a copy to you.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Is there anyone else from the public who'd like to speak today? Hearing none, does any of the staff members here see any reason why this matter cannot proceed? Seeing none, I would find that the matter is approvable and able to proceed to permitting. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Quinn and staff. I appreciate you. Barnstable staff, as always, I appreciate all the time and effort you put into this. And that concludes site plan review for June 5th, 2024, or June 6th.